Ohio State faces Marshall on Saturday to close out its non-conference portion of its 2024 schedule, and it's time to make our game picks. I'm Stephen Means, that's Stefan Krajisnik, and that's Andrew Gillis. Ohio State, a 40-point favorite, over under a 52.5, heading into its final non-conference game. Obviously, 3 Group of 5 opponents this year, no big-time non-conference game as there has been for the last 4 or 5 years here. Andrew, what's your game score?
Ohio State 48, Marshall 6. I think Ohio State is going to keep Marshall out of the end zone again. I think we're going to go 3 straight where they don't allow a touchdown. They're going to carry that touchdown list streak into the Big Ten slate against Michigan State, which, like, at that point, you're like, are they going to allow a touchdown in September? So I think Ohio State is maybe not going to look as crisp as you would like for a couple different reasons. I think, anybody that's going to expect another Western Michigan might be a little upset, a little mistaken, although you shouldn't be. I think Marshall's a little bit better of a team. I know the line still reflects that Ohio State's obviously a massive favorite, but I think Marshall is a little bit better than Western Michigan. And I think that bye week does matter a little bit. I think, last week it felt like Ohio State really wanted to play a game. They really wanted to build on that momentum. I just don't know if that's going to happen right now. So I think Ohio State's going to roll in this one. I think it's going to be maybe a little bit similar to the Akron game where they get challenged a little bit and you have to see some different things. You have to see them kind of adjust. And like we talked about in the first segment of our pod, you have to see them go to step 2 or go to step 3 and kind of adjust there. But I still think Ohio State's going to roll pretty easily in this one. And I think when we go into Big Ten play, it's going to be, okay, now that they're playing a Big Ten opponent, how much do these 3 blowouts matter?
So 48-6, that's picking Ohio State to cover and also taking the over. And that's 3 more points than where I am at. I'm taking the under, and I'm actually taking Marshall in the points. 45-6, Ohio State wins. Part of the reason why is Marshall's good enough to just make this weird for a quarter and a half, and I don't think it will be anything that Ohio State did wrong. I just think Marshall's got some guys there, and this might be one of those games where Ohio State's going to win big because eventually that pool of talent it has is just so much greater than what Marshall has. And so when Marshall has to come off of their first stringers, that's when you see Ohio State really start to put the pedal to the metal there. Fun fact, Marshall has not given up 50 points in a game since 2021 when they played Western Kentucky on November 27th. That's the first year of the Charles Huff era. They lost that game 53-21. So it's been a while since they've given up 50. And I've been thinking about that. It's like, I wonder how much pride they take in. Yeah, we're not giving up 50 to anybody, even some of these good teams out here that we've been.
Shout out Bailey Zappi, right? That would have been Bailey Zappi.
When they were just throwing the ball all over the yard. Yeah, that's the last time they gave up 50 points in a game. And I'm just wondering if Ohio State maybe doesn't get started off as quickly because maybe Marshall's got some stuff up its sleeve where it's able to move the ball offensively. And as we talked about last week, Stefan, a first down can cost you 5, 6, 7 minutes in games now, the way these new game clock rules are set up. And so maybe Marshall tries to just shorten the game a little bit. Ohio State gets off to maybe a rocky start, but eventually it picks up the pedal to the metal, maybe similar to what we saw against Akron, though it'll be a little bit more understandable in how that happened against Marshall than versus when it happened against Akron. So 45-6, that's taking Marshall plus 40, and I'm taking the under 52.5. Stefan, what's your game score?
Yeah, mine is based on our prediction. Vegas is right on with these numbers because I had 49-6, so I got Ohio State covering and the over. I'm pretty close to Andrew's prediction there. I think these numbers are spot on. I think that's kind of the separation between these teams is probably around 40 points. So it's going to be interesting watching as this game develops, whether it's Steven or Andrew and I that end up being right on the cover and the points, because it's going to be pretty close. It's going to come down to a field goal or so, or can Marshall get another field goal up on the board to determine which one of us is right. So I think Ohio State is just the better team here. I think Marshall is better than their previous 2 opponents, but I think there's still a pretty sizable gap between where Marshall is and where Ohio State is. And I think Ohio State's a lot better than Marshall's last opponent, which was Virginia Tech, and Virginia Tech was able to, put up 41 on them. I think what was the final point total there. So I think Ohio State can put up some points. And like Steven said, it kind of just comes down to, can you get 3 and outs instead of, giving up that first down or 2 to determine how much your offense has the ball. So it's going to be, I think, closer to what we saw in Akron than Western Michigan, in terms of the score and just how dominant Ohio State is. But I think they still cruise pretty easily to victory at Ohio State.
I think what's interesting is we're 3 games into this and nobody has predicted Ohio State giving up a touchdown yet. It's going to be interesting to see when somebody.
And we've been right.
I mean, we've been right. So it's just interesting to see how long we want to keep up the streak here. Just to check in on our record so far, obviously we're all 2-0 and picking Ohio State to win both of its games. We're 1-1 against the spread, and we're 1-0-1 against the over-under. Obviously, when you push, that's just like a tie. So nobody lost there. But we're all been correct once and wrong once. So far, listen, we're not the best.
That's a betting win. That's better than my actual betting.
You know, you came out even. That's all you can really ask for. Ohio State, Marshall on Fox at noon. Get the text 614-350-3315. And if you're watching this on YouTube, go find this full podcast on Buckeye Talk, wherever you find podcasts. I'm Steven. That's Stefan. That's Andrew. We'll be back after the break right after this.